So the man on the right, he's a former Patriots offensive lineman. His name is Ryan O'Callaghan, and he was one of the first people to come out as gay while playing in the NFL. Now, the guy on the left who currently plays for the Patriots, his name is Trayvon. I think his name is Tre'Veyon Henderson. Sorry if I butchered that name. And this week, as we know, well, last week, as we know, I think it's this week actually. This week, as we know, Jaden Ivey, a basketball player, got cut from his team for condemning what the NBA pushes when it comes to Pride Month and pushing the LGBTQ agenda. The guy on the right, O'Callaghan, who came out as gay, as I mentioned before, said that he's never ever seen anything offensive as what Tre'Veyon Henderson did. Now you might be asking the question, what is so bad that Mr. Henderson did that pissed off O'Callaghan so bad that he said that he has never ever seen something so anti-gay and homophobic ever in his life? Take a look at this. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 5:10. For a time is coming when people will no longer listen to sound and wholesome teaching. They will follow their own desires and will look for their teachers who will tell them whatever their itching ears want to hear. They will reject the truth and chase after myths. 2 Timothy 4, verse 3 through 4. So there you have it, people. This is what Tre'Veyon Henderson did that triggered Ryan O'Callaghan, the formerly gay, openly gay NFL player, formerly of the Patriots, to say that he has never ever heard anything so anti-gay or homophobic ever in his life. All he did was post Bible verses. This is where we're at now. Where posting Bible verses in support of somebody who's Christian themselves and for some reason doesn't agree with the LGBTQ movement and how it has permeated society and how it's being pushed onto the kids and onto people in people's faces. That is what is so anti-gay and and homophobic. Yeah, exactly. The same look you have on your face right now is the same look I had on my face when I saw this. But hey, this is the world that we live in now. If you do not accept my beliefs, you are offensive. Think about this, bro. 2026, we're living in a world now where the gospel is offensive. The word of the Lord, bruv, is offensive now. Yeah, go figure.
Isn't it a little bit homophobic that we're so focused on the straights of homos and not the gays of homos?
Yes, I agree. Yes, for sure.
Why do you think they're willing to leave the gays of homos behind?
I think it's just historically, like, you know, gays have always been very discriminated against, which is wrong on so many levels.
Even in war.
Yeah, even in war. It just takes more reform in government, obviously, and then also educating society.
I just feel like if we're going to go in there, we can't leave the gay people behind.
Right.
I don't think we should go in there at all, but if we're going to, the gays of homos, we could turn it into Fire Island.
For sure.
Funny how she mentions educating society, because if she was educated in any way, shape, or form, she would know that the Strait of Hormuz is what's being closed right now in the Middle East, which is why our gas prices have gone up by at least $1. And people in California are experiencing $9-10 per gallon. I mean, I always say this, but a lot of people don't understand how, like, stupid the average American is and how they actually do not know anything about actually what goes on in their country and what's going on outside of their country, right? You ask the average American to point out a country on the map, it's almost a challenge. You have people who cannot name 3 countries legitimately. That is how far back we have gone as a society, right? Geography is not the average American's favorite subject or strongest subject. But the fact that you can get confused thinking that there is actually a gaze of her move, like, that's just crazy, bro. But that just shows you, like, the average American, they're out here in protests and they don't understand what they're protesting against, right? And listen, this is actually something that I agree with the left on, right? And these liberals who are protesting, I actually agree with them for once. I genuinely think that the war that we're partaking in, right, alongside our allies in the Middle East is actually an L, right? I think this is the worst thing that we could have done, and it's basically Iraq 2.0, right? Weapons of mass destruction, same bullshit they tried to sell people after 9/11. I wasn't born before 9/11. I was actually born after, but due to my research, I know that it was complete bullshit. But it's just crazy how this actually works, because it just shows you like how when these people go out to protest, they actually don't know what they're protesting against, right? Confusing, actually thinking that there's a gaze of Hormuz is absolutely asinine to me. And like the fact that, sometimes I see these videos and I genuinely think that, these people who are going outside with the cameras are actually like paying these people to say these outrageous things, and they're like, obviously, like, it's kind of rage bait. But like, bro, there's no way that she actually thinks that the gaze of Hormuz actually actually exists, because clearly she doesn't know what the Strait of Hormuz is, which, like I said, is responsible for all the oil. Well, I think it's like 12% of the world's oil goes through there, which is why we're experiencing gas gouges right now. But that's crazy. So this individual right here, Pooh Shiesty, a famous rapper, I think he's from Memphis, just got arrested again and he's headed back to jail. Now, I normally do not cover stuff like this, but this commission of a crime is so stupid. Like, I think I have to like make the public aware. I mean, a lot of people already know this, but like I have to comment on this, because this is the stupidest way to ever be a criminal. Not that anybody should ever aspire to be a criminal, but like, bro, like, at least like try to cover up your tracks, because this guy is literally the definition of stupid. Him and his dad and all his associates who were in this video. So basically what happened was Pooh Shiesty, he signed to a record label called 1017, owned by Gucci Mane, and that's another famous rapper as well. And basically, for anybody who doesn't know, right, basically most rappers, when they're first coming up, they get they sign most likely what's called a 360 deal. And what that means is, like, basically the record label and the person who owns the record label is entitled to a portion of the royalties and whatever the artist makes or the rapper makes off of whatever, anything that he does, the label and the person who owns the label is entitled to a portion of it. So this guy, Pooh Shiesty right here, this individual right here, right, he was no longer happy with his deal, so he wanted to get out. So what he does is he invites Gucci Mane to come out to Texas, right? So he goes out to Texas, right, with Gucci Mane, and they meet at a musical studio. Basically, he says to Gucci Mane, yo, listen, I want to get out of my deal. I don't like this deal, and I'm not happy with the amount of money I'm making. So I need you to sign this agreement to release me from the label. Gucci Mane, of course, says no, because Pooh Shiesty is a very, very popular rapper, and the amount of money that Gucci Mane is making off of Pooh Shiesty's music and whatever he does, it would be stupid for him to release him from the deal. So what does Pooh Shiesty do as already a convicted felon? He pulls out a gun, and he threatens Gucci Mane to sign the deal, right? And Gucci Mane does so out of fear for his life under duress, which that will never ever hold up in court. So this was stupid. And guess what? All of this was recorded on camera because they were in a music studio. All of this was recorded on camera, and the feds have all this, right? And here's where the stupidity really comes in. Not only did they force him to sign the contract under duress to get him out of the deal, but also one of the defendants there, one of the people who was committing the crime as well, also recorded it on their cellular device, which the feds had access to, and also accessed the video. So he literally committed a robbery and recorded it in 1080p. And on top of that, they also robbed Gucci Mane of a couple of 1017 chains, and then later posted the photos online in the jewelry that they stole. I mean, if stupidity doesn't, if this doesn't, I mean, this is just crazy, bro. You just got out of jail or prison 3 months ago, and you're headed right back, all because you wanted to commit a robbery to get out of a 360 deal. This is crazy.
Have you seen the data showing the movement of teenage boys politically to the right? Have you been looking at this?
Well, where else are they going to go?
It's a good question.
I mean, I had a teenage boy. I still have one, but he's 18 now. And I watched them be pushed farther and farther right by their schools. You suck. All of your instincts are bad. These girls are amazing. Look at you. You're pathetic. Be less masculine and more attractive. You're just barking at them constantly. They're not moving right. They're moving out of your stupid way. You've given them what? Nothing. Nothing. One of my son's friends died recently by his own hand. And I don't know what kind of pressures he was put under, but I watched those kids go through this pressure cooker created by this crazy, parasitized, left-wing educational movement. Get away from our sons. Get away from our daughters. Get away from our sons and away from our daughters. It's not left or right. I don't have a Republican bone in my body. Get the crazy people who do not understand human development away from our children.
And, I actually do agree with him, right? I actually do agree with him that it's not necessarily a left and right issue. Even though I would argue, if you were to do a poll and and poll all these people, people who are leftist versus people who are on the right or far right, the people on the left would probably, for a majority, overwhelmingly vote for things like that push society in a more progressive and changing the law and all these things in that way, right? I would argue that they would probably vote for policies that would belittle men and push women on top of men and be like a gender war. But he is correct, right? There are a lot of people who are in positions of power who are the teachers, right, of our children. Well, I don't have any, but the children of society today, right? They have these leftist ideologies, right? They have these progressive ideologies where and the children are being permeated by this. I mean, I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to make a video about this, but literally boys are told, like he said, you're not shit, right? Your masculinity, if you display any attitudes that are masculine, you are toxic, right? You cannot respect yourself, right? You cannot be stoic and strong, right? Anything that you do that's masculine is toxic. And you look at the school setting, right? I've mentioned this many times in my videos. What does school teach, right? They don't teach math anymore like they're supposed to. They don't teach the kids how to make money once they leave school. They don't teach English the same way, right? They don't teach history the same way. Instead, you have boys who are told to sit down, be still, right? That's a girl thing to do, right? Girls actually understand how to follow instructions. You look at how a boy is in school. Erratic, always kicking something, always throwing something, because they are boys. They're biologically different. But what does school promote? Comply and listen to what you're being told. Anti-masculine.
The pages that I'm holding are the 5 pages that officially put into motion the complete and utter destruction of transgender individuals. I wish I was playing that up for news. I wish I was being hyperbolic. I wish it was a joke. That's what this is. Texas HB 3399. In these 5 pages, it not only bans the use of public and private insurance funds for the purpose of gender-affirming treatment, it bans all gender-affirming treatment. This includes surgeries, this includes hormones, and puberty blockers for minors. This is a genocide. Full stop. That's exactly what this is. The complete removal of transgender individuals from public life.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. Comparing the banning of puberty blockers and puberty blockers for minors and transgender surgeries, and the fact that you cannot use insurance funds anymore, potentially, because I don't even think this is passed, but even if it is passed, right, blocking insurance funds for doing surgeries and stuff like that, if you're comparing that to what the Jewish people went through during the Nazi regime, right, if you're comparing that to what a certain country in the Middle East just did in Gaza, right, complete genocide, which has been confirmed by a bunch of scholars, some of them out of that country in the Middle East that I won't mention, but wink, wink, if you know, you know. To compare the fact that you don't have access to any of those things anymore as a transgender person to genocide and calling it a genocide is crazy. And this is what I mean when I say words. This is the reason why right here that words no longer have any meaning, right? That's why whenever somebody calls somebody a racist, a bigot, a fascist, a Nazi, I really have to double down and say, okay, what makes that person a misogynist? What makes that person a Nazi? Because this is why, semantics no longer matters, because people just throw words out there and they just use words as they feel and they see fit. And let's get one thing straight, right? Because I think there's a lot of things that get misconstrued whenever we talk about the transgender people and, LGBTQ community. If you are over the age of 18, or you're 18 years old and you're an adult and you pay your own bills and you can make your own decisions, and you can actually make rationally sound decisions, if you want to go cut off your genitals, that's fine. If you want to do a transition and go on all these, not necessarily puberty blockers, because that's for mainly for minors, right? But like, if you want to do that whole transitioning process where you want to change your whole gender and move from a man to a woman or a woman to a man, that's completely fine. Where most people draw the line, and what most people, including myself, see the main problem with, is when you're attacking and targeting the children. Allow the children to make a decision and get to the age where they can make a decision, because I promise you, most kids do and will regret that decision to cut off their genitals at such a young age.